Hello and welcome to another Kivu Coffee Break. My name is Sarah Grace Houston, and joining me today are Natalie Fioravanti from our Incident Response Team in New York City and Tess Frieswick from our Managed Services Team in Washington, D.C. We are now at the tail end of the 2020 presidential election. A major topic of conversation in this election cycle has been cyber. The U.S. government has added ransomware attacks to the top list of threats to the integrity of this presidential election. At Kivu, alongside our industry peers, we consider it a responsibility to analyze and elaborate on attackers' motivations and methods. And so, Tess, could you provide our viewers some insight into the primary motives of ransomware attackers? What would they have to do with this election?
Sure, Sarah. So the primary motivation for ransomware operators is financial gain. Cybersecurity is built upon three main tenets: confidentiality, availability, and integrity. Ransomware operators seek to exploit and impact the confidentiality and availability of a business in exchange for a price, normally by way of data encryption and exfiltration. They typically do not seek to affect data integrity. Election interference is the active pursuit to disrupt and impact the integrity of the public's ability to hold fair and free elections. As we move to relying more on tech for our electoral process, cybersecurity is becoming a big factor in the threat to the integrity of our election, from both nation-state actors and cybercriminals. The question now is whether ransomware cybercriminals are participating in undermining American confidence in the electoral process. Natalie, do we currently have any evidence of election-related ransomware attacks?
Yeah, so there are actually two known ransomware attacks that have affected this election. The first ransomware attack indirectly affected the election supply chain in September. This attack was done by a ransomware group called RansomX. RansomX gained unauthorized access to the phone and systems of a government software and technology provider. The second attack was on Hall County, Georgia, done by a ransomware group called Doppelpaymer. The attack disabled critical systems that were used to match voter signatures on an absentee ballot to the signatures that were scanned when the voter initially registered. And while these two attacks could be written off as a typical opportunistic attack for money, the subsequent loss of public trust in government security and institutions cannot be ignored.
And our viewers probably remember similar conversations and concerns over election interference happening back in 2016. However, in the 2016 presidential election, cybercriminals present on the threat actor landscapes were not going so far as to impact the election. Why is 2020 different, if it is at all?
Well, Kivu's threat intelligence team observed cybercriminals expressing alerting sentiments about the relationship between ransomware cybercriminals and Russian government-related attacks. Some attackers have started to voice support for political causes, especially after impactful government actions taken against cybercriminals and ransomware operators. The concern is where cybercriminals and/or ransomware operators fall within nation-state, foreign, and domestic priorities. We assert the tremendous rise in both ransomware and political tensions since 2016 makes the 2020 election different.
Yeah, and the threat of ransomware is a credible cyber risk to the U.S. elections. While the intentions may differ between nation states and those of cybercriminals, both now hold the potential to impact elections, whether that be directly by disabling critical infrastructure or indirectly by putting public confidence in national election security into question. Our experts and the leadership of Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Agency, also known as the CISA, announced that as of now, even though there have been attempts to undermine the public's confidence in the U.S. presidential election, no true data integrity damage has been successful.
That's good to know. Well, thank you, Tess and Natalie, for joining me today with your great information and insights. Viewers, please know that over on the Kivu blog is a full post fleshing out and adding detailed evidence to the talking points we made here today. As always, please feel free to reach out to the Kivu team if you have any questions or any security concerns. Thanks for being with us at the Kivu Coffee Break.